Spoilers and Fandom is like a book club for geeky stuff. Join us as we delve into the depths of our backlogs and sift through the games, comics, shows, movies, and books that we haven't checked out yet. Hey everyone, it's been a while. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can tell from the little weirdness. We haven't recorded in a very long time.
Yeah.
But we've also just gotten new equipment, so we've been setting that up and getting used to getting back to recording, I mean.
Yeah. So, yeah, we just got our own mics for the first time. We've been using one microphone all this time. We've just set that up. I hope it goes well. In case the audio has some issues, give us some time. We'll just tweak that and make it better over time. Because this is all new to us as well. Never used a mixer before. Never used two microphones at once before.
Yeah, this is... So, yeah. But thank you for being with us all this time. Thank you for supporting us. We wouldn't have been able to do this without the support, so thank you.
Yeah. And cheers for sticking with us as well during the silence.
Yeah.
I'm Hellsknight.
I'm Hillary.
And today we're talking about Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night.
Yes.
Which is the game that I picked
many moons ago.
Many moons ago. That I actually took bloody long to finish. That you finished in
2 weeks.
Quite a short time. I think I struggled with this game for like 6 months. I don't know how you managed that, but you did. So I picked this game because it looked cool. I kind of like Metroidvanias, and I kind of like Castlevania stuff. And I like action platformers. So that's why I picked this game, and I've had it for a while, so I was like, So like I said, this is a platformer, this is a Metroidvania, and it was made by guys who used to work on Castlevania.
Yeah.
And so there's like a lot of... I guess, I didn't actually look into the Easter eggs, but there's quite a lot of stuff in there that harkens back to the old Castlevania games.
Yeah.
And that's not just the enemy design and stuff, but it's just...
There's enemy design, there's a bunch, there's quite a bunch of
environmental
things.
Stuff, there's like a lot. Yeah. There's even like some indie stuff. So like he's even put in stuff that he's just a fan of as well, which I guess I'll talk about in the spoiler section. But that's what the game is. Oh, unlike most Metroidvanias, though, there's like a lot of systems.
Yeah, there's
like there's the cooking.
There's the combos, the weapon creation. There's
crafting.
There's crafting and even spells.
Even
spell crafting.
Yeah, and the weapons also act differently. There's also like RPG mechanics. So it's for me this game feels a lot more than just a Metroidvania. Yeah. Because there's quite a lot. There's also we'll talk about grinding later, but there's quite a lot of grinding. There's also side quests, sort of. Yeah, sort of. And there's also multiple endings, which we won't talk about here. But there are there. What did you think of the story?
Okay.
Without going into specifics.
Yeah, without going into specifics, it's a platformer. It's a very basic story. It's if you see the artwork, 90% of the time, I guess, the average person will be able to guess what the story of the game is based on the initial artwork of the game. Because it's very simple. You are a person trying to clear out monsters, essentially.
Yeah, I'd say it's quite similar to Castlevania's story.
Yeah.
There is a bit of lore in the world as well. Like the basic gist of the story is there's like this group called the Alchemists. They called demons somehow because alchemists are the worst in anime and just generally.
Yes.
So once they called for these demons, they needed a way to combat the demons. They invented like these human hybrid kind of things that they experimented on children called shard binders, and they used them as weapons. And basically by the end of it, there were only 2 left. And the story is that one of them has kind of gone rogue and is trying to summon the demons back to the world or something.
Yeah.
And it starts off with this castle, which again harkens back to Castlevania and Dracula's castle being constantly summoned.
Yeah. And it's a castle of monsters, so you are the one who's going there to fight them, essentially.
Yeah. And to figure out what's going on as well. So yeah, that's the basic gist. I'd say that the story gets a lot more interesting. Like for me, the story started off as your run-of-the-mill kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I found it a lot more coherent than most other Castlevania stories. I'll put it that way. Except I'm not counting the anime, but like
the
Castlevania stories
clone
in general.
games.
Yeah. No, just the Castlevania games.
Yeah.
I found that the story was a bit more like sensible and coherent.
Because it takes you through the story a lot better than, let's say, Castlevania does.
Yeah.
Because it's fed to you. You meet characters throughout the game where you're given the basics of how things are going and where you're supposed to go a lot easier than just go right.
Yeah. And okay, so let's talk about the characters. The characters they got lots of personality. There's the main character, which is Miriam.
Yeah.
There's another character called Zangetsu, who you get the option to play as initially, who you're advised against playing as initially. And I would agree with that, actually. But again, I'll talk about that later, maybe.
Section,
You have Miriam's buddy, whose name is Johannes.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of villagers who you're introduced to, some of who offer you side quests. You have shopkeepers and the basic range of those
NPCs,
characters. Yeah. I would say that if anything, like some of the enemies have really cool characters. I wish that there was a bit more time with them.
Yeah.
Like there's a barber who does hairstyles and stuff, who seems decent, but like all he does is change your appearance.
Yeah.
Hairstyle, rather.
No, it's not just hairstyle. It's hairstyle
and color scheme, yeah.
Hairstyle and color scheme.
But like I wish that if he had more to
more
him,
lines, if he had more things to do and say, yeah, it would be way more interesting. Like even for me, some of the bosses, I wish we had more interaction with them.
Yeah, because they also look like they have a lot of personality. Some of them,
because they were very well designed. They look good. They all look let me say the character design throughout the game.
Yeah,
even for the regular enemies.
Oh yeah,
is pretty out there. Like you won't really get bored, or you'll be able to identify almost all your enemies. Let me say that.
Yeah,
and they look cool. They act right. They have very interesting attacks.
Oh yeah, they have varied attacks. Like normal enemies have like multiple attacks and stuff, which again is kind of Castlevania-ish.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the style was
better executed.
Was so good, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I'd go as far as to say the style was probably my favorite part of this game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Would you have preferred it because it's a 2.5D, 2D, or 2D HD 2D game? Yeah, I found out about that term today, and I'm not going to stop using it. So it's like a HD 2D game, but it looks really, really good for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even the spell effects and the weapon effects, they've put in a lot of time even in all that.
Yeah.
Down even to your movements. There was something that we had discussed in as we were playing, because Sujay was ahead of me by a bit. But then when I finally caught up and we were discussing like some of the weapons, and I remember you told me early on, try using as many weapons as possible.
Yeah.
Because all these the combat styles and the art style go together. Like you have different combat styles for different weapons that you use. They all have different pros and cons, and it does like affect how you play. Because there's some areas that are better with certain things. There's some areas that are harder with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I really liked that aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the weapons were I think the weapons are just brilliant, and they're so different.
Yeah,
all the weapons are completely different. It's how would I compare this?
Because they have different weapon classes.
It's not like to the extent of like Monster Hunter levels of different.
No.
But like their attack arcs and the way they attack.
Yeah, they have different attack arcs, and they have even different combos, different moves. Like there was certain, in summary, you have
there's Street Fighter moves as well.
Street Fighter moves. That's what I'll try. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you could start off the game. When you start off the game, you'd think that there'd be basic weapons like sword, whip, dagger.
Those are there, yeah.
Boots. But as you progress, even the weapons that you have in those classes, because all those weapon classes will attack differently.
Yeah.
But even within those classes, you'll have weapons that have other abilities beyond just the standard attack.
Yeah.
So that really, really does help with variation and even just how you'd be able to approach enemies in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And magic as well. There's so many spells. There's so much casting.
There were times when I would want to upgrade something, but then I would lose. It would require something
an item
that I currently have and use to upgrade it.
Yeah.
And I know that it's an upgrade, but this is working so well for me already that I don't want to upgrade it.
Oh yeah.
Like I'd feel like,
is it worth using that item?
Is it worth losing it to get something more powerful, even though it might, like there's some parts, we'll discuss this in the spoiler section.
Yeah.
Yeah. But especially with the spells and the spell casting, there's some where if you used something to upgrade it, you'd lose that original spell, but you'd get a different, newer spell that's more powerful. Yeah.
Was there anything in the style that you didn't like?
In the art style specifically, in the art and gameplay style.
With the art style specifically?
Art style specifically, I wished that the enemy designs would be a bit more varied.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
the flying ones especially.
Yeah, the flying ones especially. Because once you get to a certain
they're
point,
all different.
Yeah, they're all different, but they'll have like a certain specific type of sprite that they use.
Yeah.
And then it's just a remap or recoloring of the sprite, and then they have maybe one more attack or one fewer attack.
Or a completely different attack. But they look the same.
But they look the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that if they had more enemy types or just slightly different enemy designs for all those things, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know if you noticed, all the enemies, the way they're named, they're named after, and this is a thing that I didn't know until maybe when I started watching anime. Like the Japanese just pick names from anywhere. So like these demons that you're getting are picked from a list of demon names that was like from the 15th, 16th, 17th century. So you could actually go and review that list of demons.
Yeah.
And they've used some of those names and the designs of the demons as per historical references. But then others, they've just reused the name and just said that this is now a higher level version of this one. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's quite cool.
Yeah. That's cool, but I wish now with if all of the enemies were different, I'd feel like there'd be more lore there. There'd be something more there.
And also grinding wouldn't be such a pain as well.
Yeah.
Because like there was one flying enemy that I was supposed to try and get something from to upgrade a weapon. And I couldn't for the life of me remember where this enemy was. And again, you do have an archive, like a codex kind of system.
Yeah, and it does it, but
it does tell you where that enemy is, but like you unlock that the more of that enemy you kill. Yeah. You unlock more information about that enemy. So yeah, I think if the enemy design with the different, I guess the type of enemies were a bit more varied in that like genre of enemy.
Yeah,
that would have been better. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the art style, there's something else with the 2.5D. I think there's like one boss where it's 2.5D. Well, there's several bosses, but when the bosses are 2.5D, There's something weird going on there.
Yeah, the movement, your plane of movement is, and the hitboxes will be a bit weird.
Yeah, or like they feel almost like superimposed over it feels like they're more in the foreground than necessary, and they don't look like they gel well with. There are a couple of bosses like that.
Yeah.
Sort of like there are other games who've done this, like Turtles in Time had had this level where you're looking at it from the bad guy's point of view, looking at the turtles.
Yeah.
And he's in a giant mech kind of thing. And you kind of got to throw bad guys at the screen to defeat that boss.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of similar thing with a few of the bosses.
It also reminds me of a bit like Strider. Strider had that thing as well.
Oh, I didn't get that far, but yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
But I wish that there's something weird about that. I wish that they were a bit more coherent, because it almost feels like the things that are superimposed feel like almost like a different entity from the background and your main character. And the other complaint that I have, and this was one that really annoyed me more than I should have.
Yeah.
When you get these, because there's like a lot of items to get in the game. If you get a hat, you can wear it, and it will look. You'll see your character with that hat.
Yes.
And stuff. With the armor though, the armor sounds so cool, but when you equip them, it doesn't reflect on your character.
Yeah, the armor.
And that annoyed me.
Yeah. The only things that show up on your character, I think, are the hats,
headgear, face gear,
and the scarves.
And scarves, yeah.
Yeah. Everything else doesn't. Nothing else shows up.
Yeah, but like I want to see this character wearing a tea dress and taking names. So that was a bit disappointing. I wish they could have put that in.
Yeah.
But yeah, that did annoy me. I'm not gonna lie. That was annoying. I actually thought that there was something wrong with my game, so I started looking up if there was a way to do it, and I came across the modding scene, which there are mods that actually add some of those items in.
Oh, nice.
But not all of them.
Not all of them.
No, definitely not all of them. Very few. I'd say one or two.
Or maybe or they do it such that it's the major like armor types are the ones that would show up.
The ones that I've seen for mods are like the Valkyrie outfit. And I think that was it. And there was stuff to do with the wings. The wings that you can add instead of having as the accessory.
So all the dresses were still, it would be just the one dress.
But like for example, the tea dress or the scale armor.
Yeah.
Like I really like my armor in games. So I wish there was a way that they could have added that. Maybe in Bloodstained too, though.
That'll be the next one.
I hope they do. But yeah, that's one gripe I have with the style, because it is oozing in style, and the fact that you can change all that other stuff. I just wish you could change the armor. Yeah.
Yeah. For me though, the one gripe I had specifically was, but this was early on. It wasn't necessarily a big issue for me. When it came to the combat, I don't know why I kept on feeling like the combat feels like a fighting game. It almost reminds me of what you could do with them's fighting herds. Yeah. If you have like the right weapon combos, you could play it like a fighting game throughout. Like quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, back down, forward, back, and all those combos. The boots specifically. When she wears boots, I wished there were more like physical combos.
More moves,
more melee combos, more moves. Rather than just
the dash.
Yeah, rather than just a dash and kicks.
The shadow kick from Mortal Kombat, yeah.
Yeah. So a few things, small things could be tweaked out in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like even with the swords and stuff like that, some of those weapon combos could have longer combos rather than just one hit.
Like an actual multi-hit system. Yeah.
Because
I get you. Like for juggling.
Yeah, like for juggling especially.
Yeah.
Because like with rapiers, you have a fast attack. Like if you just keep hitting the attack button, you'll keep stabbing essentially.
Yeah.
But if you have something like a longsword, I wish there was a way that you could chain your combos So if you know you've done your first one, you could chain in your second one. You chain in at least up to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you can kind of do.
And you need a bit of stun locking there as well.
Yeah.
For that. But there isn't that.
Because if you use the katanas and you start and you learn to master all your techniques, you'll be able to do, there's a specific 3/ combo that stun locks them.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you do that combo, you could do that combo. When the enemy is stun locked, you switch into another one, then you go back to that combo. But I've not been able to chain more than, let's say, 2 moves at once. Beyond 2 moves. The max I've ever been, that's the max I've been able to do. Just 2 moves.
Wow.
And even that, that was with a katana.
How did you feel about fighting the actual combat and the gameplay?
I like the actual combat and gameplay.
Normal enemies versus bosses.
Normal enemies is okay because that's platformer bread and butter. That's if that doesn't feel right, the game is gonna suck.
Yeah.
At least here, that feels right. So for this one, for me, the bigger draw would have been what's the boss game like. So the bosses, the thing I like the most about them is that you have all they're very different. You don't approach them the same way, even though you can brute force it. Each boss has a different sort of vibe to them.
So I'd say, they're very different, but like, they all just have patterns then at the end, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem, I guess.
Yeah, it's all just
Except for one. One has no patterns at all. But we'll get to that.
So I didn't mind the regular enemies so much because that's standard.
Yeah.
The bosses, I wish tying back to what we said earlier. I wish we'd gotten more interaction with the bosses.
Yeah.
Like I want to hit a boss by the time I'm fighting them. Not just find them.
Yeah, and hate them because they're hard, yeah.
Yeah. So I wish if we had more, not more bosses, but more interactions with the bosses.
Yeah.
Even if it's just dialogue throughout. So you know this is the guy I'm going for. This is the next one, this is the next one. It would be, that would fill in now that emotional.
Yeah, it would also give you direction as well, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, I know that I had to use a guide at some point with this game.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is a very me thing. This might not be for everyone. Like, I should like this game a lot more than I did, but I felt like I need to finish this for the podcast. so I kept trying to go places and just ended up getting frustrated because I had no direction and stuff. I hate exploration to a certain degree. And this game is so vast.
Yeah.
And again, how many times did this happen to you where you're like on a sliver of like a sneeze or a fart in your general direction will kill you?
Yeah.
And you're like, you've made it so far through, and you're like, I don't know where the next save room is. Should I go back the way I came, save and try this again, or do I go forward? This is something I struggled with. And then you end up going forward.
And die.
You end up in the boss room.
Yes.
And it's not the same. I hated that. I really hated that. The save rooms were close to the boss rooms, but there were several times where I entered the boss rooms by mistake because I was in panic.
And you also
like the boss rooms do have like a bit of a different door and stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're glowing red and stuff. But when you are in panic, being chased by flying things, you will just run. Like, I just ran. Like, I just panic ran into a boss room. That would happen to me quite a bit. And, the save room is, like, somewhere down there. Like,
usually, yeah.
For me, Sanctuary. I see a door, I see Sanctuary.
It was also the same for me until I realized that there's an item that you can get called a waystone.
Yeah.
If you use the waystone, it will
port you back. Yeah.
So I started now stocking up on those damn waystones.
Yeah, but then again, you need to make it all the way back there from the last save point.
Yeah, you'll have to go back. So you just that's how I ended up grinding the game.
Yeah.
In the sense that whenever I go, okay, this was my method.
Yeah.
And I got this because of playing another game which I'd been telling Suji earlier to play called Chasm.
Yeah.
Now, what I did was, I'll adventure as normal. When I get into a new area, what I'd do is, I'd map it out as much as I can.
Yeah.
To the point where I'll be like, there are 3 things that I want to find specifically. I want to find out where the boss room is, and I want to find out where the teleport room is. I don't care about the save room.
Yeah.
If I can find the boss room and the teleport room, I'm safe. Once I find the boss room, I waystone out of there immediately. I go back, I get potions, I get gear, then I come back, then I do that boss, and then I finish 100% a zone. Then I move on.
Yeah, for me, the fast travel was the most important thing for me. Like, I'm looking for that fast, because you can just warp back.
Yeah, you can warp back and save yourself the time.
Yeah.
But that grind, that part for me, I like the doubling back a lot, because of it. There'll be stuff that you'll forget, and the fact that in any case, every time that you move out of the screen, every screen is refreshed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With this game though, I found, like, I normally do like Metroidvanias. But with this one in particular, I found it really annoying because it felt very gated, and I hated that. Like, there are so many places that I was blocked off from going
can't enter.
because I didn't have power A or power B, which is normally typical of Metroidvanias. But I just found there were so many of those.
Yes.
And like every boss, it felt like, at least initially, they wouldn't give you anything special. It would just be a traversal thing.
Yeah.
So that got really annoying. Like, I wish I got this other power from this boss, but no. I got something else that helps me enter a place I couldn't.
Yes.
Rather than, you know, the cool wings that the boss may have had. Yeah. You know, like, or like the cool sword that the boss had. I'd have preferred that. Okay. Not all bosses are like that. But like most of them, I'd say the majority of them give you traversal powers. You know, now, even though this boss was like a hand made out of stained glass, you can now move heavy objects that are blocking your way. You know, like that felt a little cheap for me. I wish, like, okay, you have you could do more with that boss's power rather than just, I can access more areas now.
At some point, like, okay, this is something that I noticed later. If you upgrade that shot,
I did.
They say that it'll allow you to do damage with that power to enemies, but it's not.
It's not very. No, it felt very tacked on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not very good.
Yeah. So you don't. I don't know. There's some things. I guess also now those are part of now the grind issues. Yeah. Because you'll work, and then now, okay, this is an issue that I got now. Like late game, you'll get like powers that duplicate one another, like those traversable powers. There's one that's essentially short range and one that's long range. And once you get the long range one, there's no reason to use the short range one.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Well, it's very situational.
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where, like, now again, it's the grind. You have to upgrade all these things.
There's a lot of grinding as well. Like all the enemies that you fight, they have their weaknesses and things like that. So like you'd be changing. Like if you were spending a lot more time with this game, there's like a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
But like if you're trying to just get through your backlog and stuff.
I'd also I'll also say that because of that, the progression in this game is interesting. It's the thing. It's actually the thing that you hated is the thing that got me into this game.
Okay.
Because I didn't really care about it until I finished it.
Okay.
And then I'm like, I don't know whether this is a spoiler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to say it? Or do you want to hold it?
Let me say.
Okay.
But you can finish the game at 50% exploration.
Yeah.
But you'll get a game over.
I don't think that's a spoiler.
Yeah.
If we go into details about that, that's one of the endings.
It's one of the endings, but you'll get a game over. It's a non-standard ending, but you'll finish the game.
Yeah.
For you to get the canonical best boy ending that you should get, you do kind of have to grind, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, I got the good ending.
Yeah.
But I got the good ending. We'll go into that later.
Yeah.
But I got the good ending without doing some of the stuff that you did, which is interesting. But
so
yeah,
you also have you have some leeway and some wiggle room.
Yeah. And I will say this about the endings. They make sense story-wise, which I really appreciate. They're not like very cheap.
Yeah, it's not Mass Effect 1 of 3 endings.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't do this, therefore ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot, it's based on story. A lot of it is based on specific story points and characters that, depending on whether you've met them, haven't met them, things that you've done or haven't done, that's how the progression goes. Yeah. For me, I like the multiple endings because of that. Because it kept me on my toes, because I'm like, okay, fine, I finished the game. And you get a game over. And you're like, okay, fine, I've done this. You still get a game over. And you're like, okay, fine, let me do this again. And you still get a game over. So you keep working and working and working until you get the right thing done.
Yeah, so I don't like that. Yeah. I don't like the grinding for the right ending thing. But I did like that it made sense.
Yeah,
the multiple endings. Mm. The other aspect of the grind is the cooking stuff.
Yeah, that I did not like.
And also, there's stuff, like to finish all the side quests, you need to look for all the extra stuff, which I didn't like either. Because some of the extra stuff was not canonic. Like, it's more like, it's very gamey. That stuff doesn't gel with the story. Some of the side stuff, which I'll go into detail later. Because it's very specific. Like the last two hit list missions. Uh-huh. So there are these missions where you need to go and kill a certain number of a particular enemy. Mm. The last few are like optional bosses only. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to do those optional bosses because they're optional. I really, at this point, I've been playing this game for like 6 months, trying to figure out how the hell to finish it. I'm like, no. And yeah, they weren't necessary from the guide I read. They weren't really necessary, so I was like, I'll leave it. Yeah, I won't bother with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I didn't like that. I wish the side quests were had the same immersion as the main story.
Yeah, because the hit list quests get really old.
Oh, and yeah, there's something else they don't tell you. Uh-huh. With like, for example, with the cooking quests or the grave quests, you can only have one of those active at a time.
Grave quests?
Getting stuff for the people who have died in the village. You donate items.
Oh, no, I didn't donate anything for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
but like for those quests, you can only have one active at a time. Uh-huh. For the hit list quest, it doesn't tell you this, but you can have all ones that are active, which I didn't know. So in madness, you're wondering why I took so long.
I'm seeing
Every time I finished one of those, I would
come back,
go fast travel back, go select the next one. It's only towards the end
where they give
where I realized that I could have multiple of those selected at the same time.
Because that's what I did.
Because I assumed I couldn't. Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I did. When I realized that you could take all those hit list missions at once, I was like, fine, let me take all of them, and then I'll check them in when I'm done.
I think I only had 2 left besides the optional bosses ones.
Yeah.
I only had 2 left. And I had done all of those other ones by backtracking constantly.
What?
Yeah, because I thought you could only have one at a time.
Now, I did the same way. I did that's it, the first 2 I did separately. Then I didn't do anything until essentially from 20% exploration to 90% exploration. I didn't do those quests.
You didn't do them.
Then I came back from 90 to 99 is when I came back and finished them.
So the way I did them was I just finished the ones that were available.
Yeah.
For the hit list specifically.
Yeah.
And even the cooking, I started doing that. But then just the cooking ones are really vague.
Yeah, the cooking ones are a bit vague.
And you got to figure out what you would need, and I just didn't know at one point what to do to finish them. So I just gave up on those.
Yeah. But I'll say this about the cooking one.
Yeah.
If you want to play the game as close to a walkthrough as possible, the best way possible, you'd have to the cooking game is very, very important because it does help you level up a lot faster.
Yeah. Even the cooking system.
Yeah.
They don't tell you this, but like you do have potions, but they're very non-economical ways of playing the game. They're not optimal.
Yeah.
If you want to play the game, you got to cook.
Yeah.
Like cooking stuff requires like specific items and ingredients, and they will like replenish your health or mana or whatever. They are it's really overpowered. And honestly, that's how I ended up beating some of the bosses. I would cheese them completely by stocking as much food, because also the food doesn't have a limit for how many you can stock.
Yeah.
So you could have like 90 pizzas.
Yeah.
And go into a boss fight, and that's essentially 90 health potions. Whereas with normal health potions, you only get to have 9. So...
And even then, like a normal health potion versus even by the time you're able to get like a high potion or an X potion.
Yeah.
Like a high potion will heal maybe at level 40, wherever we are. A high potion would heal a quarter of your life, because you need about 4 to fully heal you. Or let's say 4 to 6 to fully heal you. There are meals that will heal you in like 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. There's another annoying thing with the grind as well. Some bosses, they have such a high HP pool.
Yeah.
If the weapon you're using you haven't upgraded,
yeah,
that's easily a boss fight that you're going to be doing for like
endlessly,
an hour. So you gotta find the parts and upgrade the weapon if you want to use that, or use a more powerful weapon that maybe and get familiar with it. So I didn't like that part.
Weirdly, that part for the weapons, because that's now on you as the user.
Yeah.
To figure it out and see it. Because like there's some, I ended up using great swords a lot more frequently in this game.
Yeah.
Than let's say I usually do. Because great swords hit like a train.
Yeah.
And then now there was one, I guess for me this was luck, because I'd been adventuring. I never usually come back until I have like a bunch of stuff that I can actually work with. So by the time I actually came back to Johannes, and I had an opportunity to craft a bunch of things. So I crafted like late game weapons, because I had like a lot of these things available. So I crafted one greatsword, and then immediately after I crafted it, I got 2 levels of upgrades for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved up from, let's say, like
a claymore to just something
crazy. And even then, there's still a level above that I can upgrade it to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like, I remember there was one boss I was fighting. And I got the pattern down. So, you get their attack pattern down, but they're just not dying. And you're just still on the same boss. You're just not doing enough damage.
Yeah.
And, God, like, I was like, okay, no, let me at least upgrade this weapon a little bit. And the second you just raise it by 1 level, it makes all the difference in the world. So I was like, oh, come on. Yeah, so that was a bit annoying for me. I wish that there was a bit more balance. Or like, rather, I wish that the boss's HP scaled to your level or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, the weapons, if you pick a really low, if you have a low attack weapon, even if you're like level 40, if you're fighting normal enemies, you'll kill the enemy because you're hitting hard. But once you get to a boss, as you say, it really doesn't scale the same way. So you'd rather have better weapons on you.
Yeah.
Weapons and gear. Because even if you feel like you're dying all the time, your gear is one of the things that will help you there.
Yeah. I wanted that tea dress, man.
For me, I think I got the flame armor and just never moved from there.
The flame armor was good, yeah. Yeah, me too. I like the flame armor. But, well, again, the game forces you, though, with its progression to get, like, specific sets as well in order to progress, which is annoying. But I think that's enough of that. Let's talk about the soundtrack.
The soundtrack, I liked it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I liked it. It was
what did you like
repetitive, but it's fine. I didn't mind it. It was very Castlevania, very retro. Yeah, very retro, very soothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, familiar.
Okay. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it so much. I'd say that was my second favorite part. Like the first favorite part is the style of the game. My second favorite was the soundtrack. Like even though I finished this game ages ago,
you still remember the song.
I still they keep playing in my head because again, I have spent 6 months with this game, and that violin solo. It's still in my head.
Is there a boss? Is there a boss track?
Yeah, the boss tracks were there, but like they weren't. For me, the most compelling tracks were those violin solos where you're in the area, and they're very typical. You're right, they're very typical,
but they're good.
But there's something about it that I thought was way catchier. Like, and they feel like modern and catchy for some reason. But I really like the soundtrack. Like I would buy the soundtrack. Like I'm so into it, actually.
One thing I'll also give the soundtrack, okay, for being a Castlevania-inspired game, it has very original music.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like Castlevania music.
Yeah.
But it's very original, very catchy.
But it does does have a lot of violence.
Yeah. It's very you can tell it's inspired by Castlevania strongly, but it's very original music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I'd say maybe with some of the sound effects, I guess could have been a little... Well, no, not really. I wouldn't change the sound effects. Maybe, because like all the enemy types that you fight, they all make different noises to indicate that they're around.
Yeah.
So I do like that as well. So I'd say that was good as well in terms of sound design.
The only thing, okay, there's some areas where the sound really bothered me.
The environmental effects.
The environmental effects, especially on very long screens.
Yeah. The corridors and stuff.
Yeah, on corridors and stuff, you don't really... When you're on the edges, you don't get very clear sound.
Yeah, I know there's something weird there, yeah.
Yeah. It's like it only centers... It's like it centers the sound into the middle of the screen, and when you're on the edge, it fades out.
Yeah, this is an extreme example, but if you look at like Final Fantasy VIII on the PlayStation and compare it to the PC version, where you have footsteps that sound like footsteps on the PlayStation,
but then on the PC,
and then on the PC it sounds like cans being squashed instead. That kind of effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was a huge fan of the soundtrack.
Well, the soundtrack is really good. Did you get any glitches in this game?
Yes. Did you?
No.
I did.
No, wait, no, one. The game only crashed on me once.
Okay.
Yeah. But it just hung on me. It was in mid-game. But even then, I think those are laptop issues.
Okay, so I had a few glitches.
What kind?
The annoying one, which happens to me quite a lot, is getting stuck in a place where I should not be stuck in, and there was no way out. Like, for example, there's this is a bit of a spoiler. I can't talk about that part, but like like a place between like a pillar and a wall that I've ended up in, and I can't get out of. That kind of thing, and like I can't use any powers to get out of that.
Because even
I'm
early
just
game,
stuck there. Yeah.
Even early game, there's some sections where you could get stuck with some of the way the world is designed. Or if you get cornered with
for me,
enemies,
this was like
get stuck.
Late-ish game.
For real?
Yeah. Well, I'd say mid to late game where I got stuck, but in a starting area. Yeah, that's how I'll put it.
Okay.
But like I had all these powers that should get me out of there.
Yeah.
But like I just couldn't get out. Like for example, like the reflection shard wasn't porting me anywhere out of that
area.
Yeah, it's a very typical glitch, really. It's like where you're stuck between two things that had like hitboxes for like platforms, and you just can't get out.
That's the same thing.
Yeah. So I had that a couple of times, and I had crashes that were related to mods.
Which mod did you get?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I couldn't take the grind anymore. I ended up modding it. I made it a lot nicer, but also, I think that took a little bit of enjoyment out. But at that point, I was just eager to finish.
Okay. Yeah. But wait, what kind of mods?
So the mod I used was a drop mod that just increases the drop rate of everything you kill. Okay. So I didn't have to look for stuff to upgrade my things.
Because
honestly, I got to the end game with very low level items, and I was not doing damage. Like every enemy I fought would feel like a boss fight.
What?
Yeah, I was end game where I just was not putting out the damage.
Okay.
Again, I took 6 months to play this game. What was I doing? But yeah, like I'd say for the most part, like those glitches aside, it ran really well. Yeah.
Okay.
There was a glitch. Well, there was like a thing I thought was a glitch, but wasn't a glitch. And again, the game gave no indication that this was a thing. But like you'll find like even if you're using a guide, for example, the guide will tell you to go somewhere, but they've patched the game, and that path is no longer available. There'll be like a lever or like a wall blocking your way. And the way to go about that is you have to take a long way around.
Oh, you have to go the long way around
and figure out how to get there,
and then I'll come back
and do something that will unlock it.
Okay.
So like, for example, in like a churchy place, you might need to ring a bell, things will collapse from the vibration, and that way will be unlocked. So the guides didn't even work as advertised in some cases for me. So yeah, that was the thing. But that's not really a glitch. I guess that's kind of cheeky of them to
change a couple of things.
To add a few levers that you need to pull from the other side to take the long way around. But I feel like that's also like padding the game out a little bit and forcing you to
padded length.
I don't like that either.
Okay.
But yeah, that's that. What about you? Any other glitches?
No. For me, it was just that one. The game just hung during a fight, and once I just had to close. I closed it, restarted it, and played normally.
Okay.
I feared that it would have an issue with like the saves, like it would corrupt your save. But even then, my save was absolutely fine. When I just lost my progress from the save.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your verdict?
I like this game. I could actually, you know what?
Yeah.
You know how stubborn I
am. Do I? Yeah, you are.
You know how stubborn I am with games like these. Because I'll 100% a game like this not because I need to, but just because I feel like because I feel like doing it. Such and such a boss deserves the final sword in his face. That's it. So for me, I want to play. I'll keep playing this game. Like there's a boss. It's an optional boss that I'm fighting right now. Where I left the game, I'll explain this in the spoiler section. But where I left the game, I'm fighting an optional boss that you don't really need to fight, but he's a bitch. And I'm feeling. I've tried beating him twice already. I'm not doing enough damage. So I want to upgrade now that great sword one more time. I see if I can kill him this time.
Okay.
Yeah. So once I get that boss done, then I guess I'm done with the game. Because it's 99.64%. That's my completion right now. Wait, you said you played this game for 6 months, right?
Yeah, I don't have that completion.
What's your time? Because maybe the 6 months is also giving guys...
I'll need to check. Yeah.
Because I've played this. I've played it for about maybe 2 months now. Okay, no, about a month. Yeah, let's say about a month now.
I think my hour length is over 45 hours.
Okay, cool. Because mine is just around 21, 22 hours.
Okay.
You can finish it. You can 100% it in about 20, 22 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't find that very accurate, but yeah. Sure.
Even with me, I had to resort to the guide.
Yeah.
Because I got lost at some point and I was like, I don't know how to move on.
Just finding those items, though.
Yeah, finding the
specific items on what enemy in which area. I'm like, oh.
And even the hit list lady marks them on the map for you. But there's no guarantee that they'll always be there.
She marked them?
Yeah, if you follow that hit list thing that she gives you on the minimap, you will see them there.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't notice
That's
this.
what I wanted to tell you.
What?
Yeah, they're marked on the map. At least the rooms where those things are. So it's not up to you to fight now the enemies in that room constantly until when you get all the things there.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
You wonder why I took 6 months. Anyway.
So for me, verdict, 100% like it.
Yeah. Out of 10.
Out of 10, I'd give it an 8.
Uh-huh.
The few things that I'd want change would be a few more combos, a little less grind, a little more exploration, more varied enemy types. That's it. Other than that, this game is 80% for me.
Okay.
Yeah. You?
Yeah, for me, 7.
Why?
7.
You said you like the soundtrack, so that's at least
yeah, the soundtrack. For me, what's holding this game back the most is the grind, the padding, the grind to a certain degree. I did not like it, especially in the spoiler section. I'll talk a bit more about that. And again, doing that damage, I was not doing good damage to normal enemies, and that was annoying. Like, I want to progress with the game. I don't want to go look for which item out of these 30 should I upgrade so that I can be viable in this area. Like, yeah, I didn't enjoy the grind. And I wish they went the extra mile with the armor.
Yeah.
I swear, if the armor was it, just leave the grind.
Yeah, leave the grind.
If they just let me put that bit of armor on the character, that would be an 8.
Yeah.
It'd be heaps more enjoyable. Because I feel like they didn't full on commit to the cosmetics.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it is definitely an enjoyable game.
Is there any game like this that you'd recommend over this?
Yeah, a lot. Because I didn't expect it to be this grindy. Honestly, this is one of the games I regretted picking for the podcast because I felt like I would have enjoyed it a lot more
playing it on your own.
But yeah, I don't know if it would still be an 8 because I feel strongly about like those issues.
Okay.
But I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I wasn't doing it for the podcast. But then again, I don't think like it's good. So the reason this podcast is there is it forces me to check out a game that I haven't checked out yet from the vast backlog. So, yeah, bittersweet, I guess. A game I'd recommend over this that's similar.
Or at least, not even over, but what game would you recommend alongside this?
Alongside this?
Yeah. Either over or alongside.
I'm trying to think. Just the style is so unique with this game, though.
Because for me, the only game that I have in mind, and I'll keep saying this.
Chasm. Chasm's better than this?
Not better. But it does a lot of things differently enough for it to be fun. Differently enough and fun enough for it to stand on its own. Let me say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it doesn't do the weapons the same way. It doesn't do the cooking. It doesn't do the weapons and the cooking, but it does platforming and exploration a lot better.
Okay, see, like, between this and Mega Man, I prefer Mega Man.
I prefer Mega Man as well.
Yeah, because of the way it controls.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the style of this. And again, Mega Man and this are completely different.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's hard to say. Like, I haven't played a game with this much in it, in terms of, like, a Metroidvania. If I'm just comparing it to Metroidvanias, I'd recommend, like, maybe Metroid.
Yeah.
One of the Metroid games over this. But again, this has a lot more going on with it.
Yeah. Because you do a lot. Yeah, you end up doing a lot more here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't played anything like this.
Okay.
Yet.
Hopefully the next one. Are they doing a sequel?
I know. Yeah, well, there are some other Bloodstained games.
Yeah.
There was like a couple. Well, there's one that they released before this game came out as like an extra bonus for the guys who kickstarted it. That one's called this one's Ritual of the Night. That one's like Curse of the Moon. I think there's going to be like a Curse of the Moon too.
Okay.
Ritual of the Night, I don't know. I don't think there is one. I would suspect that there would be one because this game did really well.
Yeah. They should, absolutely.
Yeah. I'll definitely get the next one.
Yeah.
I just probably won't play it.
Yeah.
Because I should have read this. It's just I felt so pressured, but still, it took me so long, and you finished it in 2 weeks. My God.
But again, these are the kind of games I like. I live for platformers and Metroidvanias like these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but maybe we should close here.
Okay.
What are you picking for the next game?
The next game. Let me think about it.
Okay, we'll get back to you. Yeah. This was the spoiler-free episode. Mm-hmm. The next episode will be full of spoilers about Bloodstained. We're going to be really specific about some of the stuff. I don't think it'll be that long a show, but yeah,
at least we'll go into discuss detail. The things that we haven't been able to talk about here.
Yeah.
We'll cover them there.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. I'm Hellsknight.
I'm Hillary.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Do you have an opinion on what we just discussed? Did we miss something? Tell us in the comments section and we'll read it in the next episode. If you're listening on Anchor, send us a voice message and we'll add it to this episode. Don't forget to follow our podcast on Twitter @SpoilFans for updates, and follow our Instagram for behind-the-scenes action @SpoilersInFandom. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube and Anchor to get the latest episodes.